Hey guys, Abraham here with the Salmon Homestead. I've been itching to get out into my garden, and one of the first things that I'm going to be putting into my garden this year is potatoes. Right beside me here, there's many varieties of potatoes. A greenhouse or a store that sells potatoes is going to get the potatoes in a large bag, and that bag will contain that kind of potato. Kennebec, Pontiac, potatoes like that, maybe even the blue potato. And they all come this way, and they are stored in a cool place. Now I'm going to take you to where they are on display for a customer to buy, so that if you would happen to come to a florist shop, such as Robinson Florist in Kimberly, you would know where to find them. Or if you go to another greenhouse, they'll have the names on there. They'll also have how long it takes for that potato to go from a little potato up to a bunch of potatoes for you to dig. As you can see, we have potatoes and onions on display. But today we're going to talk about potatoes. And the first thing you might think about a potato is, well, which potato should I buy? So you might think of, do you want to get the potato earlier in July, maybe early August? Or are you just satisfied with getting your potato at the end of August, September? So therefore you'd want to look at how many days it takes for when you put that potato in the ground to when it's going to sprout little potatoes, and eventually you can dig those potatoes. So the potato I have right here says it's entitled Red Pontiac. And if you notice with the Red Pontiac is going to be around 75 to 80 days. So as you show up to your greenhouse or location, wherever the potatoes are, they're going to have something like that that's going to show you the different days. And if you're like, okay, if I plant that potato now, count out 75, 80-ish days, and then that's when those potatoes would be ready. And maybe you're like, that's early enough, or that's too early, or that's too late. Well, then go to another potato and you could do that potato as well. So if we go to the potato that's right below, that one is called a White Superior. And that one is 85 to 90 days. So this potato, if you planted them both at the same time, would be approximately 10 days or maybe a few more after the red potato. So maybe you like a red potato and a white potato. That might be perfect. You could plant them the exact same day. You get some red potatoes, and 10 days, 2 weeks later, all of a sudden your white potatoes are ready. You can intermingle them, and then you're going to have potatoes throughout your late summer going into fall. The White Superior potato, it's a little smaller potato, but what it is really nice about it is if you see right there, it has a lot of nice eyes on the potato, and that's going to make it really easy. When I show you later, I'm going to show you how to cut a potato, and it has really some nice eyes to plant this potato. And it's pretty cool. It was down at University of Madison that they came up with this potato. White Kennebec potato, 1941, has some good eyes on it as well, good for cutting. And if you notice there, fries and hash browns. Who can't not like some good hash browns for their morning breakfast? Yukon Gold, ginormous potato. That's probably one of the top potatoes that I like because of how big this potato will get. Because, as it says right here, nice for in baking and frying, so you make up a few of those potatoes and you're feeding quite a few people. So here we have the blue potato. Really cool. I like different cool structures and textures, and if you ever look at it, it's really got the eyes are even like blue purple, so pretty cool. Renee and I have grown these in the past, and why would you grow a blue potato? I think a big part of it would be is it adds conversation to your meal, because you sit down and you say to somebody, we're gonna have potatoes, and they're maybe expecting white potatoes, and you bring out blue potatoes. Or maybe you're going to serve a potato salad or something else that has a little potato in it, and you put a blue potato in there. That blue is almost like a little dye, and it sends the blue color through the whole salad. And so it perks up people's interests and comments of, why is this blue instead of white? But I will say on the contrary, I think kids, especially ours, they grow up thinking that potatoes should be white. And so when you mash potatoes, you boil your potatoes, and then you mash your potatoes, and you maybe add in your milk and cream cheese and whatever else. You add it and you're ready to serve it. But you know what? Let me see if I can find a really small one here. This one's pretty small. Let's say I put this potato just in one kettle. My whole potato, of all the potatoes, they'll all be blue now. That's how it will permeate through all the potatoes. And that, for our family, has drawn us not to grill this one anymore, because when we have our mashed potatoes or we're making fries, they like white, and this is blue. So for us, it was really cool to grow, had cool conversation, but we've now just sticking with the red and white. But if you have never tried it, check it out. You might like it, or maybe there's someone in your family that loves blue. This will be the one to go with. Here we have the Russet Burbank. 2 points I want to make with that one. One is 1902. That kind of potato has been around for a long time. And, pretty cool, over 40% of the potatoes grown in the US are this kind of potato. So you know that potato's got to be one that's just been well established and has worked. So if you want one that's just going to work and you're just going to get started with it, that might be one for you to try. So this is a new one to us. It's the fingerling Austrian crescent. You can tell by how small it is to my finger that it's probably why it's called a fingerling. And this potato is good in stir fries, would be good on the grill. Maybe you're gonna put a spear through it to grill it. There'll be one that we'll have to check out and see. We ourselves have not grown this one, but I think we'll have to check it out and see if it's as cool as it looks. So the potatoes that we use in our house, we like to plant the Yukon Gold, and we also like to plant the Red Pontiac. So remember, the Red Pontiac is going to be early, and Yukon Gold, just like the White Superior, is going to be a later potato. The reason why we like both of these potatoes is, one, you get an early and a late. Also, they do really well for mashed potatoes, or maybe you like to cut them up and make French fries in the oil. That's really good in our house. And I really like about both of them is they last very long in our house when we have a lot of them. As in, we will eat them all the way into February, even March. But then you might be asking, well, how does that work if the potato maybe is going to be dug up late August, September, or maybe in October? Well, what we do is we dig the potatoes out when they are dry, so that the tops are no longer green and they're just dry. We dig them out, and then for a few days we let them dry on the dirt, just right next door. So we dig them out so they're exposed to the sun. And what that will do is that will dry the dirt on the potato. And then what we do is we put them in a 5-gallon plastic pail. And our coolest place come fall and then not freezing going through winter is our stairs from our garage. Our stairs goes from our garage down to our basement. So it's an open stairs into our garage. And we put them right along the edge of the stairs, and it will be approximately 40 to 45 degrees where they're at, and they will last really well there. You might then also look at your potato and say, well, which potato then should I be eating first come maybe November, December? Well, for us, we will eat the smaller potatoes first, because as the potato goes through, it will not be as hard as it came out back in October. It's going to start to soften, and that will allow us then maybe come Christmas or February, if we need to peel our potatoes, we're not peeling like really small potatoes, we're peeling big potatoes. Maybe you kept like a potato like this. This is gonna be a lot more fun to peel than, let's say, there's not a small one in that one. This little guy right here. I'd want to eat him back in November when he's nice and firm. Therefore, maybe your kids don't want any of the peel of the potato on there. You can peel it then real well, but this will be nice and firm in November, December. And that makes it easy then to store if you store it in your plastic pail. And then it makes it accessible to get to your potato. And then when you get to February, you're not left with all these little potatoes. And you're like, oh, what am I gonna do with them? I can't peel them, they're so small. So that's what we like to do with our potatoes. Now that you have seen some of the potatoes, I'm gonna now take you to our garden and I'm gonna show you some different places where you can plant a potato in your yard. And I'm gonna show you spacing. And lastly, I'm gonna show you how to cut a potato.
I look out across the water, I smell the salt, I feel the breeze, but in my heart I hear the call of my old home, Tennessee. Even though
All right, so the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna talk about cutting the potato before we get to the many different ways you can plant a potato. In cutting the potato, for me, I'm going to say this is how I do it. I've seen and heard other people do it a different way, but this is what I do. So when you cut it, you're thinking of force. And for sure, I'm looking at the eyes here, and I for sure can get 4. And I'm gonna cut through so that I have a little space, like here's an eye and here's an eye. So I'm gonna try and cut maybe halfway between those eyes and around. So if I go, for example, maybe I'll go like that, and then I cut in like so. I now have this potato. So this potato actually has 1, 2, 3 eyes on it. And now I'm looking at this one, I'm like, I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe 6. So on this one, I could go like this. And then I look over and I got another 1, 2, 3, 4. So I could maybe go like so. And depending on how many you want to get out, I already got 3 and I got a big one here. Maybe I just half this one basically. And if I half it, I got an eye there, an eye there, an eye there. And this one here, there's an eye, there's an eye, there's an eye, and there's an eye. So I ended up getting 5 out of that one. I probably wouldn't want to go too much smaller than this because you do need to have some growth for these eyes to go, because these eyes are going to start, your plant growing up before it begins to get roots. So you just wouldn't want to cut out a little eye and you have like a little pea-sized eye and you plant that in the ground. It's not going to do anything. You do need to have some oomph in there. So now I have this one here and this one here. I'm just going to cut like I normally would, aiming for 4. So it looks like I have some eyes here, so I'm just going to make it just easy, simple. Boom, I cut off the end, and I'm aiming for 4. So I'm going to notch in and come back out. There's another one for 4. And then I'm just going to go right down the middle here. And I got a lot of eyes. And that's 4. That's some nice chunk. I maybe could have done that for the other one so these weren't as small. But I really wanted to show you that depending on how many eyes, you can split them more often. Now I'm going to show you 4 different places you could plant your potato. Place number 1 would be in a structure that you are able to build upright to almost make a tower of potatoes. So this is my structure, 8 inches by about 4 inches, and these all come off. And so what will happen is you plant the potato, maybe you plant 4 or 5 of these potatoes. So I place them all in with the eyes pointed up. And now I would cover this with about 4 or 6 inches of dirt. The potato eventually is the eyes are gonna shoot up and produce your spot where the leaves are all gonna come from. And then when you get to about 8-10 inches tall, you would take off the next one of these, move it over, and now you add dirt. So then you have about this much of the leaf of the potato showing through. As that gets to 8-10 inches tall again, now you take the next one and plunk it on top. And you can continue going up in your potato tower until you're getting to 2 things. One, maybe you miss a time and it starts to flower out, then you should stop. Because once it starts to flower out, it's forming all the potatoes it's going to on the sides, and it wouldn't add any more to your potato. Or you would stop when you're like, all right, I'm done adding dirt, or I ran out of dirt, now I just need to let it put out the potatoes. So that would be method number 1. You don't have 16-foot row, so you want to grow your potatoes vertically. And those 5 potatoes will just keep growing up. You don't add any more potatoes as you're growing up, you just add dirt and the wood structure. So some people have talked about potato bags, and maybe you don't have the wood. Like right now, wood is pretty expensive, and this is made out of cedar, so that maybe would be pretty expensive. But maybe you're able to locate some potato bags, and that would be the same thought, where you put your potato in and then you add dirt as your potato is growing up. Another spot that you might have available in your garden is maybe under an apple tree. This is an apple tree, and we have a lot of wood chips underneath it. So in this spot here, what you would do is, this one's pretty easy, you don't even have to deal with any wood. You would just pull back your wood chips till you get to your soil, put your potato down with the eyes up, and then you just cover it up. If this is your potato growing up, maybe you got another one growing right there. There we go. So now they're getting taller. You're just gonna take this mulch and you're gonna bring it up around the side. And really you want a space about this big that you can keep bringing up. And then as it gets taller, it's gonna leaf out, and then you just keep mulching it up. And that's an easy way then that you can just put your hand in after a while and check for the potatoes, because it's just in a loose mulch. It's in a loose material. My third way, and this is the way that I have probably done the most in my life, is where you're going to take a shovel and you're going to make a furrow with the shovel. Let me show you what that is here in my compost pile for demonstration purposes. So I'm going to take my shovel and I'm going to dig out about 5 inches down, and I'm just going to make a furrow. A furrow is a trench. That's probably far enough to show you. So I have my trench, and that would maybe be 16, 20 feet long. And then I'm going to grab my potatoes, and remember, this is how I've done most of my planting all my years. You put a potato down, eyes up, and then you step in the row, and you put another potato down. You step in the row, and you put another potato down, and then you just continue down your row. And so all of your potatoes are about 1 foot apart. Then what you do is you come back, you cover up like this. Oops, not that guy. You cover up your potato, and then one more step. You come back like so, and you walk across the top of your potatoes. And that's it. Now you're done. And then the same thing, let me use this stick as demonstration. Let's say your potatoes are that high. Now I would want to take some new mulch from the side. Let me grab my shovel. And now You're gonna mound up that potato in your row so that way the leaves keep growing up and you keep building up the dirt. And then come August, all you have to do is reach in, find that potato. Oh, that one's a little bit little. I'm not gonna take that one. Ooh, I found a big one. And then you can take out a potato because you have a mound that's mounded up. And the potato grows in the mound. I probably like that method the best, and that is the method I've used the most. My last method I want to show you is the one that I'm going to use this year. I started with it last year because it was, I think, a little easier than the one I just showed you, so I'm going to use that method again. So same thing, cut your potato. And then what I'm going to do is, here's a row. I don't have it cleaned out yet. Tomorrow, the next day, whatever works, that's when I'm going to clean it out. But let me show you what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to that spot right over there, and I'm going to show you how I'm going to plant using almost the same method I just showed you without the furrow. So now I have this garden prepped. I have my wood chips pulled out, nice and neat, and you'll see this after a while if you watch another one of my videos. And all I'm going to do now is I'm going to put my potato in the middle of my 30-inch row and do the same thing I did before. Put it like this, step down so I have 1 foot in between, and keep going all the way to the end. I think at the moment many of you are liking this because there's no digging involved. Put one way down there. And now you're probably like, oh, wait a sec, I don't have a furrow. What do I do to cover it up? Well, that's where I'm going to use my compost, and I'm going to cover this whole section with 4 inches of compost, and it's going to sort of be mounded up, and that's what I'm going to grow in. And then when they get tall, I'm going to just add some more of my compost that I have. So maybe for you, maybe that would just be getting some compost or peat, a mix of black soil and peat moss, mix it up, and that could be something that you could just continually add on top of your row because it's some great material to add to your soil. So I think it's going to work really well. It did last year. I probably would say the only difference I'm going to do from last year to what I did doing this year is I had 2 rows in my 30-inch rows going all the way down. This year I'm going to go to 1 row. I think it's going to allow me to mound the potato better to keep the mound out of the aisles. So I think it's going to work really well. Lastly, you might be thinking, when should I plant my potatoes? I would plant them 2 to 3 weeks before your last frost. Can these guys handle a freeze like 30 degrees, 31 degrees? They can. They may brown up a little bit and die back, but what's going to happen is new growth will come off if that would be the case. So there, if you go two weeks-ish before that last frost, your potatoes are going to be coming up probably right around frost. Remember, they have to go through about 4 or 5 inches of soil before they get above the ground. And if they're just right above the ground and you have a frost, it's not going to do anything to them. It's when maybe they're 6 inches above the ground that the tops are going to get nipped back if you get to that, 31, 32 degree temperature. And if that would happen, and I have had that happen, oh, I'm detrimented. I'm like, no, I planted a few days too early and now the frost got them. But every time it's happened though, remember, you have all these eyes growing underneath there, and new growth is going to come from the potato that is already growing up through the soil. So most likely, if you would lose some through a frost, the top set is most likely you're going to have new growth that comes from that potato below, and you won't actually lose any potatoes. So for me, I like to get them in early because I want potatoes as soon as possible, and I'm up for risking it to get to it. So I hope you enjoyed watching this about potatoes, why you should grow potatoes, the fun of growing potatoes, and especially the final result that you're going to have. You can make your own mashed potatoes, potato salad, or in our family, we love to make a lot of French fries. So hope you have a great day, and we'll see you on the next one.